just so small.
This is Obi Smith, and you're tuned in to About That. I hope I didn't mess that up. Did I mess it up doing that? I don't know. I was trying to do like symbols, but then I forgot how long that the intro ends. I'm sorry if I messed that up. Leave it in. I'm going to leave it in. Maybe. I don't know. Alrighty, guys. Hey. Nice to see you. I don't know if you guys noticed in the intro or if you picked up on it. My name is Obi Smith, and I'm so happy to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know if I said alrighty that time. Usually I say alrighty in the intro. I don't know if I said it this time, but that's okay. I'm in a very peppy mood today, and we're going to talk about something, and I'm going to be very preachy probably today, but that's okay. I want to talk about vaping and the irony behind vaping itself. I will admit that I used to vape. I've quit vaping. I will say sometimes the alcohol sneaks in, and I end up wanting to hit one so bad, but I quit. I also used to smoke cigarettes, which is not good. I was kind of exposed to it at like a young age. Same thing with vaping, and we'll get into that a bit more, but I quit cold turkey. And every now and then I'll be like really wanting a hit, and I'll take one and I'll feel immediately guilty, but no, I've been doing pretty good for a little bit now. I've quit, and that's something that you realize a lot, especially today with like young people, is a lot of us vape. It's fucking ridiculous. How many people vape? And the thing is like, I don't even know if we're vaping for, like, the actual nicotine anymore, Like, I don't know a lot of people who are looking for those high percentages of nicotine at this point. I feel like it's just the action of hitting something. That's what a lot of people say. And most people in my life do vape, and the people who don't are very strong about it, very strong-willed about it. And I completely respect that. If that's you, I respect it. But I am not always strong about it. I flip-flop a little bit. Like today, I was working on this episode and like trying to figure out what I want to talk about when it comes to vaping and stuff, and I ended up like literally looking at my friend's vape and was just like, I felt like I was sweating almost. Like it was ridiculous. I was like, oh my god, that looks so fucking good. And I was like, seriously, dude? Come on. You don't need that. And like, I'm not gonna like sit there and like, people who vape and people who smoke are very well aware that it's not good for you. And like, like people who smoke, like little Marlboro Red never hurt anybody. What I used to say, and it does. And I'm not trying to shame anyone if they do. Like, hey, power to you. But I just want to talk about it a little bit, especially with like my new perspective on it. I did some research and stuff, and just want to make it like a conversation, I was looking into like the unintended consequences of vaping, and I watched a couple like really interesting videos on it, and how vaping is generally just like a lesson in irony, and stuff like that. So like when you have an unintended consequence of something, it's when you are doing an action and the thing that happens is typically unintended or not anticipated, not expected. Unexpected is another term you could use. And there are many different types of unintended consequences. And I learned about a lot of this in this video that I watched. And one of them is the perverse result, also referred to as the Cobra Effect. And I'll try to see if I can link to the video that kind of explains it a bit more in detail. If not, just look up vaping, a lesson in irony. It's really interesting to look into. But basically, the Cobra Effect was named after a whole thing that happened with the English in India. And basically the people in England were like, yo, there's too many fucking snakes here. And he was like, yeah, we know. And England was like, okay, well, if you guys kill these snakes, we'll give you money for it. And basically created a bounty on the cobras. And the thing is that the goal of that whole ordeal was to cut down the population of snakes. And in turn, they had a monetary motivation for it, like monetary incentive. That's a term, incentive, in order to cut down on the snake population in India. And what people in India decided to do in order to make money is start farming cobras and start creating more cobras, which the unintended consequence of this whole fiasco was now there's double the snakes that we had before, which is like so interesting. That it applies a lot. And, like, the thing is like, in the video, too, the girl says, like, she's like, I don't even know if this is, like, a true story, which I'm pretty sure it is. But, it makes sense, like, this was the whole situation of there now being more snakes was the perverse result of the actions, because there's always, like, the intended outcome and then the unintended outcome. So when connecting this to vaping, Honlik, he's a creator of the vape, and he created the vape, created our first ever e-cigarette to help people quit smoking. Specifically himself, he realized that he had a smoking problem. And he was like, dude, I got to stop this shit. So he created the e-cigarette to quit. You know, like he wanted a less jarring transition than nicotine patches or nicotine gum or things like that. So he wanted to kind of like replicate the action of smoking without the harmful effects of the cigarette. And in turn, he did. He created an e-cigarette. You know, the effects that, you know, smoking actual cigarettes had on you were not present in that prototype. But the thing is like when it comes to like vaping and like vape juice and stuff like that, they include like chemicals like, I'm gonna read this right here, vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol, those are actually like present in like cosmetics and sweeteners and stuff like that, but there's not enough data to kind of tell us the long-term effects of inhaling these things. So like not a lot of people think about that, you know, like whenever they buy their vape juice or whatever, or if you're using disposable vapes. I mean, there's a bunch of different types of like vaping and vapes that are like, you know, that people are able to have access to. And now, especially with the age being 21, that's not stopping people. If people can get a hold of alcohol, it's probably a lot easier to get a hold of a vape. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And like, I feel like that's why they kind of raise the age of like buying nicotine, because they realize that like not only is smoking the problem now, like nicotine has like insane effects on brain, like teen brain development, you know, especially if you start smoking at a young age, like it alters the way that you think. And not a lot of people think about that. And it also implements like addictive behaviors at a young age, because if you get addicted to nicotine, you are very much prone to be addicted to other things, because when it comes to addiction, if you have one, you probably have many. And whether or not they are as severe as the one you had before, it is what it is. No, but like, and the thing is like you look into vaping and stuff, like some vapes have more nicotine than a singular cigarette. Isn't that crazy? And the thing is that most people don't even know. Like they're not sure which one does and which one doesn't, you know? Like obviously like there's a warning on the label like, hey, this contains nicotine, but like, come on. You're smoking more than a singular cigarette just in one hit. And now you're fucking killing it. What I used to do, I mean, I go through a vape in like a week, maybe less. Like a 400 hitter. Disposable. And you know how much money I would save if I didn't pick up vaping? I started out juuling, and I ended up getting like a pretty bad case of like my lungs. Oh my god, oh my god, you guys are familiar with popcorn lung? All that shit fucking sucks. I was a swimmer. You imagine me doing that shit now? I mean, like running is kind of difficult sometimes, and it's not because I'm a fat lazy piece of shit. No, it's like my breathing is hard. And you know, like I remember whenever like Juul and stuff like that had like you know, when you were entitled to like compensation and stuff like that. You guys remember that, where you had to like fill out a form about how like juuling affected you when you were younger and you were able to get money back from it? I'm pretty sure I got $14 on my check back from Juul. Crazy. I remember when vaping like started becoming a thing. And I remember it vividly in my brain, watching a Vine where it was like the guy being like, my e-cigarette's coming in soon. It feels so good. It gives you a buzz, da-da-da-da. And he was like, I finally got one, and I'm 18, da-da-da. Like, and was showing it off. And I was like, that is super sick. That is so smart. I was like, it's so convenient. You know, like people like who smoke usually now, they can like hit these vapes, like indoors even, or like they don't smell as bad. They're discreet and convenient. And there's like a variety of flavors and all this stuff. And I was like, you know, I thought that was so clever. I was like, what a great way to like, you know, to completely change the whole nicotine game altogether. And I was like, this is genius. And I remember seeing it like kind of becoming more of a thing with like juuling and like mint pods and all this stuff came out. And I was like, yo, this is so cool. I'm going to hop in on this. And then that's where everything went south. I developed a nicotine addiction, and I didn't even really know that that's what it was, because the thing is like, even if you're hitting vapes, like some vapes don't have nicotine in them. It's just, you know, you're hitting a vape, you know, like they make like ones for like melatonin now and stuff like that, which is definitely cool. Like it's vapor, but there's still like chemicals being put into these like juices or liquids that are being vaporized that we don't know the long-term effects that they have on our lungs. We still don't. And it's been years since like vaping started. It's the thing is like the fear of the unknown is just, it's a big thing that people don't really consider. And I definitely didn't when I started vaping. I didn't give a fuck. I was like, cool, this feels good. Like, it feels good. I remember, here's a fun little anecdote for you guys. When I was in high school, they have the, you know, those vapes where it's like the big ones where it looks like literally the handle of a gun. Like, it's those big ass vapes and you hit them, it's like, it's that whole noise, you know, rather than like you usually hear. Wow, that was really accurate. But, you know, it's like it sounds like they're Darth Vader, you know, like blowing into a tube, like, Nick level over 9,000 type of bullshit, you know? That was a Cody Co reference if you knew that. But basically, no, like, I remember I hit one of those, and they were like, hit it for as long as you can, you know? It's like a game. We were treating it as a game, and I was a fucking kid, and I'm treating this as a game, and I'm hitting, and I'm like, for as long as I could, they were like 6 or so seconds, and I was like, whoa. God, what a hit, basically, right? And I was like, fucking, they were like, oh, yeah, that's super cool. And I was like, yeah, I'm not thinking about the fact that I just inhaled all these chemicals and nicotine into my body. I remember, feeling like I was going to pass out and I was going to die. My whole body became cold. I started, going upstairs, and I was, shaking, like tremors, and I was sweating, and I literally thought I was dying. I remember, almost blacking out in the bathroom. I was laying there. I had to crawl up the stairs. No one gave a fuck at that fucking party, either. And I was like, you know, people were like, oh, she can't handle it, da-da-da, and I was like, I thought I was going to die. And to this day, I still don't know what the fuck that was. Was it a nicotine overdose? Is that even a thing? I know that you can get nicotine poisoning. I know that's a thing. Because I know a couple of my friends in high school had to deal with that. They got, insanely sick from basically hitting their vape too much. And, they were, throwing up, basically. And there's, these long-term health effects that we haven't even, explored yet. You know, I feel like we're going to be the generation that has to, teach the younger kids about it. You know, and, the thing is the unintended outcome of the vape being created. You know, it was created in order to help people stop smoking, and it did. In a sense, it did. But it could open up a completely different door. As in now, kids, younger kids are getting nicotine addictions. They're getting addicted to nicotine because of, the convenience and the discretion that vaping allows. And the other unintended outcome of this is now we are putting these chemicals in our body, and we have no idea what effect they're going to have on us long term. There's multiple things that came out of this that were not intended. And I don't know if that's definitely an example of a perverse result, right? We have no idea what these are going to be doing to our bodies long term. And I sit here and I think about it, and I was like, am I fucked already? I don't know. And I'm not going to act like I'm high and mighty above everyone. I very much dabbled and struggle with the addiction every day of nicotine. It's crazy. And like I said, even today I was thinking about breaking it. And I'm like, no. And I'm like even chewing nicotine gum is too much. It makes me sick. And that's where I'm like, what if most of us aren't even really addicted to nicotine? You know? I don't know if you guys are familiar with this term, oral fixation. And I remember I was trying to describe this to someone the other night. And, when you hear oral fixation, obviously your brain gonna be thinking about oral sex. Let's just be honest. I'm sorry, mom and dad, if you're listening to this. If you hear oral fixation, you're thinking about sex. And the thing is it's a psychosexual development, which is very much contested in modern psychology. Because it's a Freudian, psychology concept where oral fixation itself, right, is caused by unmet oral needs in early childhood, whether being over breastfed, under breastfed, stuff like that. And same thing with there's anal fixation, phallic fixation, genitalia fixation. It goes on and on, and it affects not only your sexual behaviors, but just your behavioral patterns itself. And it's definitely was interesting to look into. When you read it, you kind of have to have a mature sense about it. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I still giggle when I hear the word anal. But reading into it and stuff like that, the oral fixation itself, I have to read a little bit more when I'm looking at my notes on this, but it creates a persistent need for oral stimulation when, this causes negative oral behaviors, whether it's nail biting, smoking, drinking. Even if you're at the bar and you're everyone's drinking, I should be drinking. It's not just peer pressure there. You want to be holding something, drinking in your hand. You want to have something to drink, right? And that's when I realized I would go out and just get Sprites, and Sprites are waters, and put a little Mio in it maybe, and it's oh my God, it's I'm drinking a drink. I don't even need to be drinking alcohol. I didn't even want to be drinking alcohol this whole fucking time. Crazy, right? It's just a thing. It's just a thing that I was looking into, and I was maybe this is connected to the obsession with vaping. Maybe it's not just the nicotine. Maybe we have also created a behavioral addiction. I don't know, orally fixated behaviors smoking, alcohol abuse. There's one called pica, which I looked into recently, where it's eating non-food items, like ice, or chewing on non-food items. I was talking with my friend today, she very much chews on ice constantly, will just eat ice. And, I do that too. If I'm hungry, I'll just eat ice. Ugh, not healthy. But I also, was looking into my weird behaviors from when I was a kid. This shit's weird, guys. I don't know if you're ready for this, but pica affects a lot of people. I don't know if it's pica or pica. I'm pretty sure it's pica. Just by P-I-C-A, sounds like pica. like eating things that aren't food, like paper or chewing on straws, or if you ever ate a Dum Dum and then you ate the stick too, that's pica. And it's usually a direct result of oral fixation. And that's fucking crazy. Nail biting too. I'm a big nail biter, which is why I get like gel and shellac on my shellac is like the fill that you put over the acrylic extensions on your nails. I get that on my natural nails so I don't bite them. Because, not only is it just not hygienic, it doesn't look good, but it's also just not a healthy habit to have. And it's usually prone to people who have anxiety or orally fixated. It's definitely interesting, and it's something that is very relevant also like with like toddlers and infants. Like it can be caught now in like infancy, realizing that they have an oral fixation, like not being able to give up with like their passy and stuff like that. It was a really cool thing to read into. But yeah, like smoking is a clear sign of its behaviors, and it definitely has bled into the vaping world as well. And that is where I came across a study from MSU by Mr. Brendan Wang. And basically, he was trying to create like a alternative for vaping, which is crazy. How it went from alternative to smoking to alternative for vaping. And who knows, maybe there'll be an alternative for the alternative for vaping. And it's just a never-ending cycle of us trying to get rid of our bad habits systematically, and it never will, because we just keep trying to create solutions instead of just stopping it all together, which I know is hard, but like, stopping cold turkey is sometimes the best thing you can do, because like you're replacing it with other things, and sometimes those things can end up being harmful in the long run. Like I'll get into it a bit more about like substitutes and stuff like that I was looking into. Some of them are fucking hilarious of what the internet's trying to tell you what to do. But basically this study, he talks about how it is more of a behavioral addiction rather than a nicotine addiction. Like this is a direct quote from him, which resonated with me after I kind of was thinking about this a bit more. I already knew about oral fixation, and I was like, how can this connect to vaping? It has to. So he said, quote unquote, "We vape so often and develop a nicotine tolerance, so we're no longer achieving that sense of satisfaction from each hit." Wang said at that point, it has evolved into oral fixation or behavioral addiction, where the addiction lies in the desire just to hit something. And I 100% agree with that. Most of the time when I see my friends' vapes, I'm not giving a fuck about the nicotine in them. I just want to hit something. Oh my God, I just want to hit something. And it's crazy. Like, he created like this little thing. It's like it's literally just vapor, and you hit it, and it just kind of gives you like the same head rush because you're inhaling a lot of that, vaporized chemical, not necessarily nicotine at once. And it basically, like he said, he had like one of his friends put it in his front pocket and his vape in the back pocket, and he was just reaching for the substitute the whole time. I mean, like obviously he's going to be doing that because he knows he has, the stupid, biased, I don't know. It was kind of the study itself. The product, alluring, definitely for people who are struggling a lot with knocking vaping. But I thought, like, what are other ways that we can ease the oral fixation that's, in relation to vaping? And I went on the Nicorette website. It's like NICORETTE, which they make the nicotine gum. And the first one that's recommended on that website, guys, veggie sticks. You ever be craving a nice big old puffy hit of nicotine and you go, oh, no, pass the celery. I mean, I get it. Like, that is literally like replacing an unhealthy habit with a significantly healthier habit. And I totally get it. But it's like, oh man, addicted to nicotine? Here's some celery. Here's some carrot sticks. It'll help. Like an actual quote from this website is, "Celery and carrot sticks make a great substitution for cigarette substitutions, or make a great choice for cigarette substitution because they are full of vitamins and minerals." Interesting. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Like, maybe, I don't know, something about craving a cigarette, eating your vape, and instead just grabbing some carrots. It just feels like needlessly comical to me. And I know they probably had like great intentions by doing that. Just like the people are like, oh, just drink water. Oh my God, you want nicotine? Don't worry, just drink some water. Just replace it with water. It helps. Like, no. I mean, like, yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Me just sitting there drinking water all the time, I realize that it's like, if I'm hungry, I'm really just thirsty, or if I'm, craving a vape, I'm really just thirsty, and I've been able to do that, but like, that's difficult. It took me a while to condition my brain to do that. And then what if I don't have water on me? I'm just sitting there, now I'm addicted to water, which isn't like the worst thing, but I just smack my face into the microphone all the time. I'm so sorry. But no, and in reality, all the articles that I've read on this are like literally fucking jokes to me. Like, other than quitting cold turkey, I really don't want to say. So, like, how does one really go about quitting vaping? And like I said, cold turkey, guys. Just fucking quit. Right? And I know that's hard. And as someone who's dealt with other types of addiction, I will say that, you know, like every now and then I do break, but I'm leaps and bounds away from where I started. It's a difficult journey. I've also knocked cigarettes, of course, and the temptation's always there. But it is what it is, right? I have what might be described as an addictive personality. And I feel like this term gets like tossed around a lot, and I thought it might be a little bit fun. I find it fun to do research and learn about stuff. I don't know about you guys, but I find that fun. So I did some research basically on addictive personalities and how that stems like genetically and stuff like that, and how it affects your brain functioning, all this really nerdy shit. But yeah, you guys are going to be along for the ride on that one. Obviously, I went to the most trustworthy of sources to get my material on addictive personalities, and that is WebMD. And I'm surprised it didn't tell me I had cancer from it. Sorry, that was a bad joke. But these are the characteristics from WebMD that are associated with an addictive personality. Number 1, a love of excitement. You get excited about shit? Do you? Might have an addictive personality. 2, the need to get the same thrill. Thrill seeking. You be seeking those thrills? You like the roller coasters? You like the skydive? Perhaps you have an addictive personality. Number 3 is impulsivity. Yeah, perhaps if you are impulsive and you make rash decisions, you could have an addictive personality. And the inability to quit, which I mean fucking duh. Obviously. And I mean, like, that's very vague, and I feel like that's another thing when it comes to psychology is that there's a lot of crossover when it comes to diagnoses and stuff like that. That's the thing, like, that's why, like, I feel as if when you are diagnosed with something, because an addictive personality, it technically can be a disorder. It is something, you know, that's where I'll kind of get into it a little bit more. Addiction itself is a disease. And the thing is there's a lot of, like, symptoms that cross over in the psychology field, and I feel like people kind of don't realize that it's the behavioral patterns and how it becomes a pattern and how it becomes destructive, and that's what makes it a problem, what makes it a disorder, what makes it an issue when it comes to your daily life. And I feel like a lot of people don't really get that. Or maybe I'm just, you know, maybe people do get it and I just, you know, think I'm better than everyone, which is a fucking problem in itself. Narcissism, maybe? Who knows? I don't know. I want to do an episode about the psychology field and how it is fucking shit right now when it comes to just throwing medication at a problem and giving people incorrect diagnostic things. I don't know. We'll see. No, but addiction itself is a disease. I kind of wrote this out a little bit because I need to get my thoughts on paper before I told you guys. And like an addictive personality is usually associated with like a depraved, unreliable, out of control, impulsive, weak person. You know, like the addicted who are affected, you know, are usually labeled with such negative and harmful terms. And a lot of people like to think that addiction is a choice, which I'll get into more in a second. But like I feel as if we should view them more as victims of circumstance. Maybe that's just me. These defective people are like boiled down to their addictions and the weight that they carry rather than who they are as people and how they are affected by their vices. It just feels shitty. I mean, like, it's their fault, right? I mean, like, they chose to partake in the harmful behavior which set them on the path which they are now on. So it's their fault. Crazy, right? Did you know that OCD and addiction involves similar brain circuits? Yeah, this is in relation to the failure to stop compulsive behaviors and failing to end a habitual routine. And as someone who struggles with an intense case of OCD, I also, of course, am privy to my addictions. And I have struggled with addiction before. And I'm not just talking about like nicotine addiction and stuff like that. Of course, I'm not just going to like hop on my podcast and give you guys this very personal anecdote. But the thing is when it comes to addiction, I completely understand how it is a disease. And some people think it's not a disease and it's a conscious choice to be addicted. And I mean, like, yes, the initial action or catalyst to the addiction, 95% of the time is a choice. They choose to partake in the thing, whether it's drugs, alcohol, porn, anything like that. But like once an addiction is in place, it is near impossible or even impossible to stop. That's the point. That's why it's an addiction. That's why it's a problem. There's something psychologically dependent on a certain thing, action, or feeling in which you get from those things. And it is so hard to knock. And like I said, I have my own personal experience with addiction, and I can say that it's a monster. A monster. It is a monster that lives inside of you and takes over. And it can destroy your fucking life. And I'm not going to go into what I dealt with or even the severity of it. I'd rather not. Not now, at least. But I can say that the only choices that are made when it comes to addiction is the choice to start and the choice to try and stop. Not to stop. The conscious choice to try and stop. Recognizing you have a problem and making the choice to try and stop. Like, it's fucking hard, dude. And it also doesn't have to be when you hit rock bottom. I mean, some people, like, realize in the middle of their addictions or, like, in their journey. Like, it's not just, like, this big dramatic moment where it's like, oh, my God, I lost my job. I'm divorced. All this stuff is happening to me. Rock bottom. I guess it's time to get help. It's not always like that. It could literally be, like, you're sitting there, like, fucking, you know, partaking in the action. You're like, this is a problem. And I need to stop it now before it gets worse. Like, that is a thing that people are capable of. Like, the rock bottom is like when you're brought to like your knees, but like a horrible, horrible consequence of addiction. Like I said, losing a job, relationship, home, getting arrested, overdosing, getting into an accident, something like that, something that could really, really hurt you. And of course, like, I know I started this episode talking about vaping, and I know, like, as of right now, we don't know, like, the severe consequences of vaping. I mean, like, you know, like, there's, like, gingivitis and, you know, being, you know, getting, like, nicotine poisoning, and, you know, like, there's probably long-term effects with your lungs with the carcinogens and stuff like that, and the chemicals that are inside of the vapor that you're inhaling, probably maybe right now. And, like, the thing is when you get connected and, like, hooked to these things, there's so many, like, other things that could follow that have to do with, like, having an addictive personality. And like I said, I'm not trying to get on a soapbox and tell you what the fuck to do. You can do whatever you want, dude. Do whatever you want. I just wanted to talk about my experience with it and how I feel about vaping now. Like, I genuinely feel as if I'm not going to do it again. And who knows? You know, in a week I'd be like, listen to this episode like, dumb bitch. Nah, we, you know, doing big clouds over here, you know? I don't know. I don't want to do that, though. I want to stick to it. So you guys hold me accountable, okay? You see me? Ask me if I vaped lately. I'll be honest with you. Maybe. No. But yeah, no, I think that's all I got for you guys today on vaping. I don't want to push it too much. But thank you so much for joining me. I always love talking to you guys. I really do. And I know that, you know, we got a lot of cool stuff coming, but I thought maybe some one-on-ones would reconnect us. That was stupid. I feel like I'm like in a relationship with you guys. Like, do you guys remember the other episode where I said I loved you? It was a bit soon. You're right. I'm so sorry. But yeah, no, if you guys could do me a huge favor, you know, I ask this at the end of every episode. Whether you're listening or watching, hi, by the way, if you're watching, hi, if you're listening. Wow. If you could please send this to your friends, family, anything in between, your boss, your coworker, someone who vapes, someone who doesn't vape, someone who's struggling with addiction. Who knows? Maybe they need to hear it. Maybe they want to talk about it. If you guys do have anything you'd like to share about this episode, you're always welcome to DM me. You know, my personal Instagram is connected to the About That with Obi Instagram. And if you could do me a favor and follow About That with Obi on Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel About That with Obi, and also subscribe to Small Stuff Media on Instagram. We always got some cool stuff coming out for you guys, and we love when you interact with the team. You know, we love hearing what you guys have to say. And, you know, like I said, if you do need to talk about any of this or you want to share your story with me, I would love to hear it. Feel free to shoot me a DM. I usually reply. You know, I've had some people reach out to me before in the previous episode, especially with the mental health one. So hopefully this will strike a chord with some people and you can feel comfortable sharing your story with me. I'd love to hear it. I always love hearing from you guys. It's nice to know that I'm not just talking to the void. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. And I'll catch you on the flip side.